The Big Play Reflog Show is brought to you by ShackNews.com. Shack News, your go-to for gaming news, covers all your gaming content needs. They have reviews of all the hottest games out there, including a throwback here that's a new game out, Streets of Rage 4. Spent a lot of time as a kid playing Streets of Rage 1. Shack News, your go-to site this quarantine for video game content, live streams, get into the chatty. Check out the Shack chat. They've got it all going on. Go check them out when you're sitting around the house, because when it comes to gaming news, there is only one site that you need to visit, and that is shacknews.com.
Hi, everyone. Tim Kinzer from NBA Jam and NFL Blitz. You're listening to the best podcast on the air, Boom Shakalaka.
Okay, do you need medical attention?
Yeah.
What is wrong?
I don't know. I ain't no goddamn doctor.
Free Shakalaka. Reflog. It's just golfer backwards. Boom Shakalaka.
Welcome to the Big Play Reflog Show. Today is Monday, May 4th, 2020. I am your host, Big Play Dave, alongside my main man, Mr. Chris McNeil. Chris, may the 4th be with you.
That's right. A little Star Wars reference there. I got another reference for you to The Last Dance. I am going for a six-peat. A six-peat as uncle. My brother right now is very close, his wife is, to having his fourth and my sixth nephew or niece combo overall. So we're probably within 24 to 48 hours. So good luck to Paul. Good luck to Bernadette.
Nice.
Congratulations.
A dynasty going on. And Bree, how are you?
Hello. I'm doing okay. After the chain of events that just occurred prior to joining you guys, I'm just hoping nothing goes wrong.
Perfect. For some reason, the camera zoomed way in on you, so I have no idea
See,
why.
we're already off to a
So
great
we're off to a fantastic start. So, Bree, you're just going to be a giant during this show. It's okay. Don't worry.
I was just saying I don't even know what I look like. I just came down.
Oh, that's okay, though, because we have a fantastic show for you guys tonight. We will kick it off with some Power Rank Monday. We're going with the most likable non-Ohio sports teams. Are there any? Who knows? Then we will get into our featured interview with Lorain native, Cleveland's own comedian, Jason Lawhead. You guys, I'm sure if you've ever been down at Hilarities, you know who the guy is. Very funny guy. Talk Cleveland sports with him. Looking forward to that here in, about 10 minutes or so. After that, we will talk all the Cleveland sports headlines. We're running low, but thanks to Hollywood Higgins, we got a couple storylines in the works here. First reported, by the way, by NFL insider, Cleveland Browns insider, not Mary Kay Cabot, Mr. Chris McNeil. Well done there.
Mary Kay, I had it first.
That's right. That's right. All right. NFL schedule's coming out this week, Thursday at 8 p.m. I'm sure Chris will probably be getting that as well here in the near future.
During the course of this show, I expect to have the schedule in hand. I just put a tweet out before the show complaining that I didn't have the schedule for my vast network of DM insiders. So just wait. Just wait.
So schedule will be coming here on the show live. We'll talk about the Kluber trade that got a whole lot worse over the weekend. And then we'll hit you with a couple Would You Rathers and give you our bold predictions for the week. But let's kick it off with some Power Rank Monday.
It's time for Power Rank Monday.
All right, so we are going to power rank the most likable sports teams outside of Ohio. So it can be the whole city, it could be specific team, whatever you guys want. No Astros on the list, please. Chris, you want to kick it off here?
Sure. Let's go right in with my number 3. The Bills. I bring them up all the time. Bills Mafia is great. because they make us look classy as a fan base. By contrast, they're kind of like the black sheep cousin at any family reunion, slamming themselves through tables and everything that they're known for in their tailgates. They're awesome. They really add a lot of let's say excitement to those legendary Browns-Bills games, whether they're here or whether they're in Buffalo. So I always have mad respect for the Bills.
Who do you think drinks more in the tailgates? Is it Bills or Browns fans, or you think it's pretty equal?
It's Bills fans and Browns fans, then everybody else is, I think, really what it comes down to. There's not a number one. Both of those guys are kind of in an orbit by ourselves. Number 2, Chicago Bears. So my mom is from the Chicagoland area, grew up all the Chicago fan of all the teams. And the only one that I've really stuck with that I like as a secondary is the Chicago Bears, because they generally suck and they haven't been able to find a QB. And that really speaks to me as a Browns fan.
We had Rex Grossman for a little bit.
Sexy Rexy, baby.
Do you remember
He was
him
kind of like Johnny Manziel light. Because he got into trouble for going out before games and stuff, but he actually made it to a Super Bowl, believe it or not,
Oh, yeah. I remember watching that.
He did Johnny Manziel before Johnny Manziel and did it better.
I also remember when the Browns tried to sign him at Thanksgiving, and he was with his family, and he took the call, and he just said no. And he did not have a job.
God, love that guy. Number 1. Well, I used to like the Cubs back in the day. Went to several games at Wrigley, that side of the family being up there. But of course, now I hate the Cubs because of what they did to us in the World Series. So I'll go with the Brewers up in Milwaukee.
Okay.
You got Bob Uecker up there, who's kind of like a de facto secondary announcer for the Indians after appearing on Major League, and just a great personality there, and just fits well with kind of our sensibilities down here. So love Bob Uecker. And then do you remember the game? I think it got snowed out down here in Cleveland. We ended up playing a game up there, and Milwaukee opened their doors, and we played a home game up there in Milwaukee.
Oh, so, yeah, I do remember that.
Yeah, so that was some hospitality. So
what was that?
Them a little
what was
bit
that
of
for?
Love. What's that?
What was that for? Why did we do that? Was it the blackout?
I thought it was because it was snowed out.
Okay, I can't remember.
Something along those lines. I don't know. It was some goofy thing, probably early season thing, and I don't remember all the specifics. I'm sure somebody will tweet at me. Actually, here's what happened after this. But
by the way, Chris, my favorite part of last show was your actually impression. Is that just Twitter in general?
That's Twitter. Yeah, you know how it is. You get that one guy out of left field. Actually.
Yeah. I hear you. All right, I'll parlay that because my number 3. I'm keeping Chicago on there, even though they beat us, the Chicago Cubs. It's easy to hate them now. Kind of a love-hate with this crew, but I lived there for 6 years. Spent a lot of time at Wrigley Field drinking beers there. So it's a party there. No one really watches the games all that much. So I'm keeping them on the list, even though they beat us. I blame the rain. My number 2, I'm going with the LA Chargers. Just because someone has to show them a little love. I feel bad for them. I remember when their mascot, the Bolt, I think is his name, was like in court, like protesting the move from San Diego. Like I felt super bad for them, obviously, as a Cleveland fan. And then they went to LA. Like LA can't support one NFL team that's not on a Super Bowl run. Like they can't support 2. So I'm gonna be an LA Chargers fan here on out. And my number 1, sticking with the NFL, the Saints, New Orleans Saints. Drew Brees, super likable guy, most accurate quarterback in history. Doesn't really get his due on the list of all-time greats. And this goes back to Hurricane Katrina. Do you guys remember the game after when they opened it up? It was versus Michael Vick and the Falcons. And the first drive, Michael Vick had the ball. They ended up punting it, and it was a blocked punt. Do you remember this? First game.
Vaguely.
Oh, it was incredible. I think they had I don't know, it was like Green Day was out doing the Saints Go Marching In or something corny like that.
Oh, I do remember that.
Yeah, you remember that? Yeah.
That version of it.
Yeah, and then it was the first drive. The Saints come roaring in with this touchdown blocked punt. It was incredible. So ever since then, I've loved them.
Well, I mean, they're a lovable team with that whole Bounty Gate Greg Williams thing. I mean, who doesn't just wrap their arms around that team?
Touche, Chris. Touche. All right, Bree. I'm going to bring you up on the screen and try to fix your shot while you talk. Here we go.
Okay, great. Can't wait. Yeah, nobody needs to see these overgrown roots, by the way. Okay. So my number 3 is the Milwaukee Bucks. So I went NBA mostly for this, and I'm going to throw a little wrench in there at the end. But I think the Giannis factor, also more of a small market team. So I always feel like the small markets we relate to a lot in the Cleveland area, where they just don't get a ton of love.
That's fair. I like it.
Number 2, I went with the 2018/19 Raptors with Kawhi because they dethroned.
Come on.
Oh,
Okay.
boo.
Okay, Cubs.
LeBron.
Yeah, that's fair. All right. Enough said.
Listen, they dethroned the Warriors, which LeBron couldn't do his final 2 seasons without Kyrie. So Kevin Durant and that super team, he essentially got Kevin Durant to leave again. So I was rooting hard for them to take down the Warriors.
Bree, if LeBron stayed in Cleveland, they beat the Raptors, right? And then they eventually go on to beat the Warriors.
I hope so, but gosh.
Yeah. Shoot.
I hope so. Man, that's depressing. Don't bring that up.
You guys are really bringing the show down. What's your number 1?
Okay, my number 1. So listen, I don't watch hockey, but
Okay, so this will be good.
the St. Louis Blues and their whole story with the little girl named Layla, which is my daughter's name. So this caught my eye a couple of years ago, but she has cancer. She was diagnosed with cancer, and she was a super fan of the team. And I just loved how the entire team just embraced her, and they went on to win the Stanley Cup, right? You guys keep me honest. I don't watch hockey.
I don't know. I don't know anything about hockey. Chris.
They did. They won.
It wasn't the Blue Jackets. I could tell you that much.
Yeah.
Yes,
so,
that's correct. Yeah.
Yes, very feel good story, feel good team. Anything that involves the stories like that, much like the Saints with Drew Brees and after Hurricane Katrina.
Bounty Gate.
Those are things that you really
Bounty Gate, yes.
you can rally around. So
I rally around Bounty Gate. Hey, by the way, my good friend Plymouth Dog has given me the actually. It was a snowed out game against the Angels, I believe. Moved to Milwaukee, so that's why they were playing up there. So
I thought you were breaking in with a schedule release.
Yeah.
Oh no! I've gotten several of those. None are worth reporting yet.
Oh shoot! I was really hoping for a handwritten one.
I got a whole lot of we're going to play 16 games, and other people saying we're lucky if we play any games. So
true.
That's right.
Also bringing the show down.
That's right. Good work. All right, and that was Power Rank Monday. Let's move on to our featured interview of the week. So he is a Lorain native, fellow Clevelander, started his career here in Hilarities in Cleveland downtown over 15 years ago. Now in San Diego, just released his debut comedy special, Pay It Backwards. Welcome to the Big Play Reflux Show, Jason Lawhead. How are you, sir?
Good, Dave. Thanks, man. Thanks for having me. You guys can hear me okay?
We sure can. Did you like our screener there? Did you have any idea what was going on?
I love what you guys do. I'm trying to go back and forth to make sure I have all the stuff and I can see you without hearing you through the Twitter feed. But you guys crack me up, dude. I love what you're doing, especially on Twitter. You guys are always I'm always cracking up, man. So it's good to be with you. I like the headshot. That's from the Ha Ha Comedy Club in North Hollywood.
Nice. All right. Yeah, I was trying to pick the best one. I'm glad you approve of that. Always glad to welcome in a Clevelander, man.
I'm a little younger there, which a little younger and a little less gray. So I always appreciate being, sent back in time. It's like a, throwback Monday.
Jason, I almost went with your Bruce Willis one from Twitter today, but I passed.
Yeah, I shaved my head. I shaved my head through this whole craziness for the first time since I was like a little boy. I used to do it like my mom would do it, like when I was in the summers when I was in grade school. And I just finally went, I shaved it. And then my wife was kind of like, you kind of look like a creepy Bruce Willis. I'm like, yeah, from 12 Monkeys. So I just posted, I look like Bruce Willis from 12 Monkeys, especially since it was a movie about viruses and being locked away for the rest of your life.
That's
Now,
right.
did you do the cut yourself, or did you have somebody else do it?
No, I did it, man. Did it myself. I got, I keep a beard, so I have a decent little beard trimmer. So I just got down to the 3 guard out, and I just kind of remember that scene in Stripes with John Candy?
Oh,
He
yeah.
was getting his head shaved. Yeah, it was kind of one of those. I regretted it at the end. I went out, had a cigarette, choked my neighbor. But no, it's I did it more for like reverse psychology. I was thinking, all right, if I shave my head now, they're going to get a vaccine tomorrow. I'm going to go back on stage in 2 weeks and regret that I ever shaved my head. But I don't think that's going to work.
I love it. How you doing in quarantine, man? This is what a weird world we're living in right now.
Oh man, it's wild. I just got married last September.
Congrats.
All right,
marriage,
congratulations.
So it's like, yeah. Thank you very much. I got married back in Sandusky, Ohio.
Very cool.
Close to family and friends and everything. And it was great. We were, you can look at it 2 ways, right? Like, man, it kind of sucks. Like, you're 6 months into you being a newlywed, and this has happened, but. We could also be planning this wedding this year instead, or not being able to go on our honeymoon. We were able to go on our honeymoon to Italy in October before Venice flooded, and then they got hit, and then we all got hit. So, it's kind of a bittersweet moment. So we're making the best of it, and we're kind of just in limbo. What we both do. She owns a salon business. She's an esthetician here in San Diego. We live, and I do what I do, comedy and some consulting and entertainment and some other stuff. So everything's based around that. And I even rep high school and youth basketball out here. So that's a thing that we don't know when that's going to come back. So I'm a certified high school basketball official, and I do a lot of youth and adult leagues. So I actually rep Jeff Garcia. He plays in an adult men's league out here. And I've actually dude. First time. This is a funny story. First time I rep, there's a place called Alliant International University. It's got like a barn of 6 courts. It's right by the Miramar Air Force Base where Top Gun is. And so there's a big adult men's league that runs out of these 6 courts under this big like barn-style gymnasium. And I started repping this year, and I used to do it in Ohio years ago when I was younger before I went out on comedy and everything. But so I got back into it. And I'm reffing a game, and I'm walking up, and I'm like, dude, is that Jeff Garcia? I mean, he looks exactly like the Cleveland Browns' Jeff Garcia. And I eyeball over to the court, and I'm like, that's his wife, Carmen DeCesar. I'm like, the girl he met from Cleveland. I'm like, she's sitting there with hanging out watching the game. And he's in great shape. He plays a good game of basketball. But I went up there to throw this center toss right before, and everybody was gathering around. Guys were just hitting each other. It's in a men's league. And I was like, hey, Jeff, man, I go, my name is Jason, man. I grew up in Cleveland. I was there while you were quarterback in the Browns. And he's like, oh, cool, man. I go, yeah, I don't think that's going to get you any calls tonight. And everybody laughed around him, because they know he's a pro football player, right? An ex-pro football player. Like, yeah, I don't think that's going to get you any calls tonight. And he chuckled. But, yeah, he's a real competitive guy, and gets up and down the floor, and he can jump out of the gym. He's a really good athlete. He can work on the mid-range jumper if I had to give him 2 cents. But other than that, for his age, man, he plays really well.
Was he skittish at any point? That's what Butch Davis used to say about him. He was too skittish. Did you observe any of that skittish behavior?
You know what's funny is on that mid-range jumper, he's a great defender. He gets high. He's got a great vertical. You'll see him block shots out of nowhere. You'll see him get steals. He jumps in the passing lane. He's really court aware. But I'm telling you, Butch, man, if maybe like the shotgun and the 12-foot jumper is the same thing. I don't know what it is, but
I wouldn't bring that one up. As I recall, when Butch brought it up to him, that did not go over well with Mr. Garcia at all.
Oh yeah, that's right, dude. That's funny. I remember that now that you bring that up. That whole era, was kind of, it was this like we had a ceiling, but we had a potential there, but just nothing ever panned out with Butch and some of the players we put around him. That's funny that you remind me of that time, because I look forward to going back and repping these guys. It's a great way to stay in shape and pick extra cash up. And I got to mention that to him. I'll be like, hey, Jeff, You get a little Butch Davis. That's what I'm gonna tell guys. I'm gonna say, pay me $20 and I'll tell you what to tell Jeff Garcia to get in his head on the court. Oh, Butch Davis skittish lines.
Oh, report that back. Let me know how that goes.
Would be hilarious.
That'll go awesome.
Oh, that's hilarious. So a few minutes before we went live here, I had a buddy text me, and he's like, "Oh, he's like, I saw you have Jason Lawhead coming on. That guy's hilarious. He opened for one of my favorite comedians, Bill Burr, a couple of times that he saw." Well, how'd you get into comedy, and what was it like growing up in the comedic scene here in Cleveland?
Yeah, I got into it kind of late when you think about it in the kind of the big picture of what comics usually do. I grew up in Lorraine and was living and working out there for many years, and then I was working in the restaurant business, but I took a job at Hilarities when it first opened, knowing that I always had this thing in the back of my head. I always loved comedy from the time I was a kid. I grew up on SNL and shows like that, and that's when, in the 80s, I'm 47. So when I came up, that's when like stand-up was just I was a big Carson fan. Stand-up was just coming on TV a lot, evening at the Improv. And it was one of those things, but I grew up, both my parents were educators, teachers from a big traditional family. You think of other things to do. So that was always in the back of my head. And I worked through the restaurant business for a while in Lorraine and worked my way up. And I saw this place opening in the newspaper, and I'm like, I'm going to go down there and get my foot in. And for the first year, I just worked as a restaurant manager and stuff like that. And I didn't really express any interest. And then a good friend of mine, a local comedian still there, Mike Farrell, he was hired on, and he said he wanted to get into comedy. I'm like, oh, dude, yeah, I've been thinking about it. So it was like two guys coming out at the same time. We were just like sitting there, like, working as like in the restaurant business. And he was like, had this moment over drinks, like, I want to do comedy. And I was like, so do I. What do we do? And then, we just kind of embarked there, and we started a room down in an old bar on West 117th Street called the Bossa Vita Lounge. We started a weekly show called the Grimy 90. This was back in 2003. That's kind of how it all started. And that's when I met like guys like Bill Burr. So I was working at the club as an employee, doing some open mics and finally trying to prove myself to get on that stage in front of their legendary owner, Nick Costas, was like a surrogate father to me. And, he just didn't throw the stage at us. He made us work, and we went out and did our own thing and set up our own shows, and finally got a couple cracks at doing some guest sets, and it just was there. It just evolved. And I met Bill back then, a long time before he even before he did Chappelle's show. So I've known Bill for 17 years, and we just kind of hit it off over sports and just being kind of thing. Big families, Catholic families, loud families. And, he was obviously in the tooth by then as a stand-up. He just hadn't broken yet. He was headlining clubs out in New York City, and I was just starting to open mic. So the transgression and there's how it all happened over time. He just, as I got better, he just kind of kept an eye on me. We were just friends. And then finally, sometime he started, booking me to MC, when I was maybe 6-7 years in. And then I would move up and, feature. Then by the time he was doing some theaters, I was fortunate enough to go out and open some unbelievable theaters. I did the Chicago Theater one night with him in Chicago, 2 sold-out shows, almost 4,000 people in the crowd. The famous Chicago Marquee. I opened for his special. You people are all the same. I don't even know which special I opened for. He's done so many. I can't even remember the one I opened for him in Atlanta. The one that was in black and white, I went there. And, and we've gone to a lot of Rose Bowls together. It was a tradition for many years. And then, it's been really cool. It's been cool to see a guy that you knew was amazingly funny, and you kind of became, friends with him early on, become famous. I knew him before, he was famous, and I just no surprise. And now he's hugely famous, and it's pretty cool.
It's very cool. Yeah. So this is before he was on Breaking Bad.
Oh yeah, man. Yeah. I was, what's funny is I was opening for him. So we were supposed to go to the, Pro Bowl, and we actually did. I ended up going. We were going. We performed at a club the night before. It was on the books for months. I knew I was going to Honolulu. We were doing a music hall the night before, and then we were going to go to the Pro Bowl to just and to hang out, smoke some cigars, and check out an all-star football game in Honolulu while we worked. Right, that's how he does his schedule. It was going to be awesome, and so we went. But like 4 days before we went, he was like, "Dude, I got some kind of bad news." He's like, "I got to take an early flight out in the morning, first thing. I can't go." He's like, "Breaking Bad called. I'm going to shoot. I'm going straight to New Mexico." I'm like, "Get them." Come on. And he's like, "No, dude." I'm like, "What are you talking about?" And that's when he got the news he was going to Breaking Bad. And I went. Luckily, I had an old neighbor and her husband that I grew up with. They live out in Honolulu. So I was like, well, we had some tickets. And I was like, yeah. So we went, and I at least had some company. But I spent two days in Honolulu by myself when he took like a 4:30 a.m. flight out of Honolulu, like literally hours after his performance. It was hilarious.
He had a good excuse.
Yeah,
he had a real good excuse. Yeah,
it worked out fairly well.
Yeah, so wild stuff like that happened. You know, it was really cool to be like, yeah, man, I knew this guy when nobody knew who he was. He was just kind of headlining clubs across the middle of the country and getting his name out. And then you're like, flash to 10 years later, I'm opening for him for Atlanta, and we're on the set hanging out with Anchorman 2, the cast. I mean, I'm sitting there talking to Will Ferrell while he's dressed like Ron Burgundy, and I'm sitting there, yeah, dude, it's great. Like Paul Rudd dressed as Fontana, and I'm like, this is insane, So, yeah, it was pretty wild. It's been a pretty wild ride.
That's awesome.
So did Will Ferrell stay in character when he's talking to you?
Well, he did. He actually came over. So we were on the lot with David Koechner, the guy that plays Champ Kind, and because we were in town, they were shooting, and they shot all the newsroom scenes in Atlanta in a big like warehouse district, like an industrial park that was all blocked off. So we were there for a few nights, and he called. He's like, "You guys want to come down? We're shooting some scenes. Come on down." So that was a cool story. We went down, and I'm like, he's like, "Dude, you want to go down?" I'm like, "Come on." He's like, "Yeah, dude." He's like, "We could just take a car." I'm like, because we didn't have a show that first night. We were just in town. We just landed in Atlanta, and he was like, "Yeah, we'll go." We went over there, and yeah, we went to Koechner's trailer, and we're hanging out. And then we went, and a production assistant picked us up. We stopped by. We picked up Paul Rudd's trailer. The funniest thing was, I got to talk to Paul Rudd. He was in Brian Fantana everything, but he was Paul Rudd walking to the shoot from the trailers. And as Bill and David Koechner were finishing a conversation that they were having on the walk over to pick him up, he's like, "Hey man, so you're opening for Bill, huh?" And I'm like, "Yeah, man." He goes, "Yeah, I think we're coming to Friday's show," which they did. They ended up coming to the Friday night show in Atlanta. And I'm like, "Oh, really cool, man." He goes, "Where are you from, man?" I'm like, "Cleveland." He goes, "Oh, you're a Browns fan." I'm like, "Yeah, man." And he's like, "Oh, man, I feel you, man. I've been a Chiefs fan my whole life." And I'm like, "Yeah." And I'm just looking at Brian Fantana but talking to Paul Rudd. And I was like, at that moment, I was like, this is just too much, man. I was just like, this is crazy. And but when Will Ferrell came over to meet us, he knew, like, oh, man, David was like, "Come on over, meet some friends." And he came over in character. I mean, he was just out of the makeup chair. He was holding the red blazer over his shoulder, and they were getting ready to shoot news scenes. And he walked over, and he was like, "Hey, how you doing?" He was like, "How you doing?" And David Koechner was like, "Hey, this is Bill Burr, one of the best comics working," and Will stuck out his hand as kind of like Burgundy. And was like, "Oh, I know who you are. Very, very big fan of your stuff." And then David goes to introduce me. He's like, "This is Jason, his opening act." And I think he could see my jaw, kind of like, just like, because he's 6'5", and you're like, and I was just like, I'm a huge Anchorman fan, and I'm like, and he goes, he told Burr right at the end, he goes, "I've heard great things about you, just great things." And when he went to shake my hand, he goes, "But you, I've heard nothing but awful, just a litany of terrible, terrible things." And everybody was cracking up, right? Adam McKay's laughing. We're standing there. Adam McKay's standing there. The director is pretty wild. And he's like, "No, I'm kidding, guys." And he just went right to Will, and he's like, "Welcome, man. I hope you're having fun. Hang out, man. We're going to try to make this thing as funny as the first one." And he was just normal. He talked about the film a little bit, and he was cool. And he was like, "Yeah, man, hang out as long as you want." And then they went to work. And we just watched for like maybe 45 minutes. We started watching him do like 3 or 4 scenes, and then we were getting back to the hotel. But that was probably one of the wildest like just unspontaneous. We were having lunch at the airport hotel, right when we landed. We just saw each other, and he was reading a text, and he told me, he's like, "You want to go?" And I'm like, "Yeah, yes, of course I want to." Yeah, I want to go.
Oh, that's surreal. Now, what kind of pressure did you feel? Pressure when they came to the show then to watch you perform?
Well, only Paul Rudd and David Koechner, and then 2 other guys that were in the movie. Will, it was funny because Will even said, he goes, that Will and Steve Carell both kind of apologized to Bill. Like, hey, we've been on set. I'm flying straight off of here Friday for a long weekend with my family back to L.A., and they were doing a long weekend in L.A., but Paul Rudd, David Koechner, Josh Lawson, who played the Australian guy in Anchorman 2, the network owner, and then Dylan McKay, who played the floor producer. He's been in a bunch of movies. He was in The Post. He's he's a character actor. He played like the floor director on the newsroom floor, producer and he's just been in a bunch of stuff. So they all came to the show. And by that time, I guess I'd been performing long enough by then, and I had been in some theaters, and it was cool to have them backstage, and they were cool to me. Paul Rudd was really complimentary. I did Cleveland Browns jokes on stage, which, was part of my older material. It's funny because I heard McNeil saying that one of his top 3 teams is the Bills, and I used to do a joke about being re-gifted tickets to a Browns-Bills game in the end of December. And what a great way to see who gets the second pick in the draft,
Right.
So,
right.
Yeah, exactly. So, but I was doing those jokes, and Paul Rudd was really cool. I came off, he's like, "Dude, your Brown stuff's hilarious." And he talked to me for a few minutes about that. And no kidding, I mean, that's one of the, highlights of my career, that he really authentically liked my stuff. And those guys hung out backstage with us, and we yucked it up and had a few beers, and I mean, it was pretty wild. That's a night I'll never forget. No matter whatever happens, if we never go back to doing live audiences again, that's one night I'll never forget.
Oh, for good reason. That is unbelievable. So you mentioned the Browns. Did a lot of your early stuff, or maybe it continues, do you talk a lot of Cleveland sports in your acts?
Not anymore. I kind of shelf it. I mean, when I come back to do some Cleveland stuff, there's no doubt I feel like there's probably maybe a lot of people in the audience that haven't seen me. Maybe it's the first time, even though there might be some repeat fans.
Yeah,
I will go into that, especially if I'm doing a 45 or longer set. I've got room in the set to go into that till, even if I know there might be a group of people that have seen these jokes before. I know there's going to be a lot that haven't. So yeah, it's like an old little well I'll pump back home. But
right.
I shot my special here in San Diego and left it out. And I actually, tried to butter them up with some of their local stuff and with local sports jokes with them. So I kind of just planted the seed. It's obviously taped here in San Diego at the Comedy Store. And so I went with just hitting them with a few, San Diego, think about me. I've lived in two of the major cities I've lived in. Their football teams have left, so I can relate to these people a little bit.
You're bad luck, man. You're bad luck. Don't come home.
I know.
Don't come home.
Know.
You're not allowed to come home.
I know, right? But yeah, I had fun with them, and the Cleveland stuff I usually just reserve for some local shows, and there's plenty of that stuff I've posted on YouTube now, so it's kind of archived, and I resurfaced an old video that I did when I turned 40. I did a spoof on turning 40. I did the Van Gundy speech with the backdrop. And then so when I turned 40, in honor of me turning 40, I did a spoof, and that was in 2012. So we hadn't won anything or broke any curses, and things were really bad. So I did a spoof, but being absolutely going mad about being a 40-year-old that's never seen a championship. And I kind of touch all 3 teams on how they've disappointed me in the speech when I'm like, I'm 40, and I'm screaming about it. So
I'm a man.
Yeah, man.
I'm 40.
Yeah, I'm a man. I'm 40. I haven't seen any. Every year goes by, I didn't see another World Series. We don't win. So I was, I definitely was shaped by a lot of Cleveland angst in sports, and being so close so many times, and then being in the rut of it all, and being laughed at so many times. So there's no doubt that was definitely part of the, pain plus time equation, I guess, in life. They say with comedy, it's pain plus time equals comedy is the old equation. So I'm sure a lot of that is definitely affected by, and then it's how you're looked at, right? Like, it's not just like your favorite team losing and getting so close. And then you kind of become a punchline for a lot of other places to be like, hey, we're not Cleveland, at least we're not, hasn't been that long. And so now, other people, you're like getting pushed into a locker for being a Cleveland Browns fan.
Yeah, turning 40, it's like the sports equivalent of the 40-year-old virgin without championships up until the Cavs will have few years
exactly.
ago.
I was screaming like I was getting, waxed, like my chest waxed. It's terrible.
That's every Brown season. Every Brown season is that chest waxing.
Yeah.
Hey, I saw something on Twitter you posted. I got to ask you about this. So you said Babe Ruth would still hit 50 home runs today. How do you defend that? Do you really think that he would hit 50 home runs with his diet, with his lifestyle? You think he'd be able to go out and park 50 of them?
Yeah, because I'll tell you what, greatness transcends, and his swing was butter. And I'll tell you what, we lived, and let me tell you something, from the periods of Babe Ruth, and you can look at his video and think it's funny, but when you really see the man swing, and the fact that when he hit 60, he had a 48-ounce bat, and when McGuire hit 70, he had a 32 or 33. That's almost a pound. And there were still hard throwers back then. Obviously not guys with that kind of, top end stuff in a shorter time because they were pitching longer innings. But there was a lot of guys changing speeds, and he's still guessing to get that off his shoulder. And when you see a guy like Tony Gwynn, he can win 8 batting titles when he looks like he should win 8 pie eating contests. And John Kruk in the Randy Johnson, Roger Clemens era, Pedro Martinez era, he's a perennial all-star that won a batting title. I mean, I truly believe that he wouldn't hit for the average, obviously, but there's still a lot of watered-down pitching. And in baseball, and the shifts would obviously take the batting average down. But it is a feast or famine. If the game has ever been anything right now, it's evolving to everybody strike out or everybody hit a home run, and that's literally what he did. He struck out, Walker hit a home run, and I think technology, shorter ball, smaller ballparks, better travel, and his diet. I mean, look, Lou Gehrig looked like a Venice Beach lifeguard that drank wheatgrass and never drank, and Ruth was still a better hitter.
Truth. You speak about strikeouts, right? In the game right now, because you're right. It's just home runs or strikeouts. What do you think Bob Feller would do right now?
I think Bob Feller would be a top end starter. Bob Feller was throwing 95 to 100, and he was always carrying innings. Could you imagine any one of these guys playing today having to go to a war? Come back from a war?
Fair point.
These guys can barely come back from the disabled list. And he's going to come back from a war? I mean, let me tell you something. Walter Johnson threw 100 miles an hour when he had to rear back. Now, these guys changed speeds because they threw a lot of pitches. But, I think Feller, listen, at the end of the day, greatness transcends. The guys like Phil Rizzuto, maybe he would have stopped in Double-A ball. Herb Score, maybe he doesn't get there or just becomes a long reliever and a guy you never heard of. But look, let's not fool ourselves. Jamie Moyer pitched 24 years in the major league in the modern era, and his fastball couldn't knock over a game of Jenga. Seriously, Bob Wickman, you want to talk about diet? I'm just saying greatness transcends. You can look like Barry Bonds or you can look like Tony Gwynn, and if you hit, you hit.
Can you imagine that collective bargaining with right now with the baseball players? Like, they can't stay at certain hotels. They have to stay at the creme de la creme. Now, if they were asked to go to war, do you think that's going to happen?
Yeah,
I mean, the players' union is not going to look favorably upon that one.
Absolutely. I mean, are you kidding me? And as great as, Ruth was, look at those guys spent 12, 15, 17, 18-hour train rides to Chicago, to Detroit, to St. Louis. I mean, that's not luxury travel. If you throw in night games where these guys aren't just every single day in 90-degree heat and wool clothes, you throw in night games, you give them a little bit of a break, you give them a travel day. I think all of those things and the way the game's designed with the shift and strikeout or hit a home run, that's all it is. And he did it better than anybody.
Hey, so just to jump in here, I have to ask you currently with Cleveland and our athletes here, who is the easiest athlete to crack a joke on these days? Who can you pick on the most?
Well, I guess, you know, I mean, a lot of them we've gotten rid of, thank God. But lately we have Mansell, Bauer, a lot of these guys that are just easy targets. But I guess, with the whole, I guess Baker with that whole thing about the girl that was on the radio show that, come on, the Cheesecake Factory.
Did you follow that? Yeah.
Yeah, I checked it out. I gave it its due, and I for some reason, I think I don't know why the girl. I said, I mean, I don't know why the girl would have a reason to lie like the way she lied for nothing, wanting nothing. I mean, I don't know. Look, he's under the limelight. He's easy. He thinks he's smarter than he is. He meets somebody on some stupid social media site he never thinks it's going to come back to. He's young. He's still young. I don't know. I think, I mean, Freddie Kitchens, I mean, he was still, I mean, I don't know how.
Maybe Greg Robinson.
I mean, how did he get a job? How did he get the job? I said last year during the season, I don't care. Even if you're the greatest football mind, you can't be at the top of you can't look like that at the top of this kind of a job. I'm just saying, I'm not ugly shaming anybody. What I'm saying is,
Andy Reid would like to have a word with you.
No, but at least, look, hey, at least Andy Reid, he at least appropriates himself to what he looks like the best he can. You know what I mean? Like Andy Reid almost looks like he's in disguise. Whereas
he owns it.
Freddie looks like, I mean, he looks like you know what he looks like? I was saying this. He looks like, you ever seen those like just huge families that travel in packs at Cedar Point?
Oh yeah.
You've seen somebody like they're just, like none of the males are wearing T-shirts. They're always coming off of a water ride. He looks like a whole family that just came off of a water ride at Cedar Point. That's what Freddie Kitchens looks like.
And he's always picking the long line to go wade in. Always making the wrong decision all day long.
He got bare feet. He's always got the chills while the wind's blowing off the lake. That's what he looks like. He looks like a whole family of that.
Rashard Higgins is laughing if he's watching the show right now.
So I don't know. I mean, yeah, I would say I haven't given that one much thought. I used to really go at Nick Swisher back in the day when he was an Indian.
Yes.
He was a target of mine.
Yes.
Dan Gilbert, I'm blocked from Twitter. Dan Gilbert had blocked me from Twitter years ago.
We're Eskimo Brothers with Dan Gilbert then. Eskimo Brothers right there, because he blocked me a long time ago. And I came after him on Twitter. Yeah, he blocked me. And I put it out there publicly on Twitter. I said, the Cavs will never win a championship as long as he's got me blocked. He unblocked me. We won the championship, and then he blocked me again. I am not kidding you. He blocked me again. And we haven't won since.
That's hilarious.
Yeah.
He's never unblocked me, and he blocked me when LeBron was in Miami. He blocked me, and he still has yet to unblock me. And what's funny is a close family friend is the radio play-by-play voice, Tim Alcorn. He's a great new radio voice this year.
Yeah.
He was actually the host and DJ at my wedding. It was
Your name dropping all over the place. You're out of control.
I know, right? I know. That's what you should call this, name dropping it. When name dropping it with Jason Lawhead.
Our new segment, name dropping with Jason Lawhead. I love it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Jason,
well, I've been cooped up not talking to anybody for so long. It's just like I swear to God, I feel like I do. I feel free. I love my wife, but it's like that Chris Rock bit, like, yeah, I remember the time. Yeah, you told me about the time. Why don't you go get some new stuff? We're inside every single day with each other.
Could you get some new material? I really appreciate it.
Yeah, could you go get kidnapped and have some new stuff happen to you?
And this is a newlywed. Oh, man, my friend.
That's right. This is a good test.
Yeah.
Well, so...
The quarantine mood has worn off, if you know what I mean.
Yeah. We feel you. We feel you.
March was great. A little bit of April too, but now all of a sudden I'm like penning a diary I hope somebody will read someday.
Easter was a long time ago.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Oh, that's hilarious.
We've been quarantined so long, we've gotten HBO free 3 different times. Like that free weekend?
Yeah.
That's how long we've been quarantined. I've seen free HBO 3 different times already. It's unbelievable.
That's fantastic. We're chatting with Jason Lawhead. Go follow him on Twitter at Jason Lawhead. Obviously, everyone knows what pay it forward means. So, what is this pay it backwards? What do you got going on here?
Yeah, it's actually kind of a talking out of the side of my mouth. It's actually kind of the opposite in the sense of there's a bit I do in my special, and it's kind of like it's talking about sitting next to really fat people on the plane, and it's basically called fat class. I say we need a first class, a fat class, and then a coach. And basically towards the end of it, there's a bunch of different bits in the bit explaining my frustration. And at the end of it, I just kind of say, that's why now, before I fly, I don't even care. I just eat the most undigestible food I can find, and I just fart all the way down the plane. I just pay it backwards, and it gets a big laugh in the special as I walk it off the stage. So it's just it was a piece in it, and I think it fit the attitude of a lot of the material. Trying to become a better man, but man, I still got this point of view, and I still tell it like this, and I'm not afraid to talk about certain maybe topics, that sometimes
throwback
might get uncomfortable. I do a LGBT bit about making their own division, in a UFC league, and it gets a really great response. And I talk a lot about my family, and it was about a month before I got married, so I talk about a lot of different things, and I'm really proud of it. It's a great club set with a great environment at the Comedy Store in San Diego there, and legendary club that guys like Leno have been on, and all the greats. It's a name brand, and I love it. I was able to kind of just feed off of a great club crowd, and for my first one, I'm really happy with the way it came out. I'm getting great feedback on it, and so it lives on Vimeo, which is like a YouTube Vimeo platform. Yeah, Vimeo / on demand / pay it backwards with an S. You can check it out. It's $6.99 to buy, $3.99 to rent. But because of the quarantine, I've been doing hey man, a lot of people are hit. I've been just doing and I don't care. I got time on my hands. If people can Venmo me or PayPal me $1. If you PayPal me $1 and your email, I'll email you a private link for you to own. Some people have been. I said, I've worked in the restaurant and bar business, and when the pandemic hit, I had only had released the album for about a month. I released it in early February for just regular sales. When the pandemic hit, and every bartender and every waiter and everybody I knew in the business that I worked for a long time in, and then worked my way up through comedy and still was out of work, I said, hey man, you know what? $1, everybody, just send me $1. I'll send you a laugh. You can maybe have a laugh, and I'm out of work. You're out of work. So I'm just going to extend that thing through the pandemic for anybody. Some people have been really cool. They've been really generous. Hey man, big fan. And it was really touching to kind of find out how many fans I had out there, how many people really love my comedy, how many people said with little notes, like when they shot me a message like, hey dude, I've been following you, saw you open for this guy, or saw you perform in Cleveland, been a fan since. And that's more of the most gratifying thing, man. Like, you know what, that $1 feels like 100 when somebody tells you that they're a fan and they love it, dude. So, and it's, it's given me something to do. I sent out 130 free links to people. Last week I advertised, hey, tag anybody that's a healthcare worker in your life that you love, that's been working hard through this, and give me their email. And I sat and cranked out 130, individual links, and sent them out to people and just saying, hey, I don't know you, but you're a friend of whoever's, you're a friend of mine. So hopefully this makes you laugh and takes your mind off it for a minute. Enjoy, thanks. And so, it's funny that I named it Pay It Backwards for the reason I did back then. And now we're in this situation where we are, and it's like, hey, you know what? Maybe I can pay it forward a little bit with pay it backwards in a way. And maybe, it's kind of, I believe in so many crazy things, but maybe it's a bit of like, kismet
Cosmic
with my
perfection.
first special to it. Yeah, kind of something to at least give it more meaning than it really did, and maybe it did help a few people along the way that just needed a laugh during this. So that's all I can hope for. Very
cool stuff. Jason Lawhead, we appreciate your time. We kept you way too long, but yeah, we're like you. We're like you. Any opportunity to talk to someone, we will take it. So appreciate your time.
Great, man. Keep doing what you're doing, man. I'm a fan.
Love it. Everyone,
right.
Jason Lawhead, appreciate the time. We'll talk to you soon.
All right, guys. Take care. Be safe.
Funny dude. Bree, loved that so just a little inside information here for you guys watching the show. So like we have our little live notes that we do throughout the show. We're like, hey, you ask him this, ask him that. Bree's like, I'm having a sneezing conniption over here.
I don't know what happened. It was like all of a sudden I was allergic and like I got super congested. The sneezing was happening and you were like, ask the next question. I was like, I have to recover from this.
She's getting the COVID back.
Yeah, that's
I thought
right.
you were immune to COVID now.
That's right. According to my antibody testing, yes, I am.
She's officially the first one on the show to be immune to COVID. Congratulations, Bree.
Well done. All right, let's keep the ball rolling. Let's talk some Cleveland headlines here real quickly. We don't have a ton, so here we go.
Well, Dave, thanks again to Jason, first of all. Friend of show. Another friend of show is Mark Price. And Cleveland Clothing Company has teamed up with that Cavs legend, Mark Price, to create a brand new Mark Price for 3 tee. Proceeds from this shirt will be donated to the Greater Cleveland Food Bank. You can order this or anything else from their great selection by shopping online at clevelandclothingco.com. And remember to use our promo code BIGPLAY20 where you get 20% off that purchase, Dave.
That's right. I already went out and bought mine. That's a sweet shirt, Mark
It
Price.
is sweet.
Oh, it's incredible.
Yeah.
So, Chris, let's get into this because you get these a lot, but your late night random DM was right once again. Rashard Hollywood Higgins has re-signed with our Cleveland Browns. It was like winning the Super Bowl here in quarantine. One of my favorite stories of the of the quarantine here. Chris, how often are these DMs correct?
The ones that people see, probably about 50%. The ones that I see and actually screen out, probably about 2%. There's a lot that I do not put out there.
So Higgins' contract, 1 year, $910,000. It was reported that he turned down more money to stay here in Cleveland. Any chance we can get Lindor to talk to Higgins here? Come on.
I think Higgins has some really good PR people.
Right? Yeah, probably so.
Yeah,
probably so.
Turned down a lot of money to stay. Sure.
Can we put a moratorium on talking Francisco or Lindor leaving? Like, as if we don't have enough bad things going on right now, we have to bring that up every single show. I'm just throwing that out there. That maybe we just don't talk Lindor leaving. We just kind of ignored that that's happening in the background.
Well, good. Like, people were really happy, really funny, man. Great guest, man.
I think we still have Jason on.
What?
Do you hear that?
Yeah.
I think that's Jason still on the line. He's recapping with his wife.
How is that?
Like,
I cut him off.
Hey. Sorry about that. I didn't know I hung up.
He's like, I was on with those idiots for way longer. Sorry.
Yes.
That's hilarious. No, I was saying it was a lot of fun. It was like you guys were. I was just telling her it was a lot of fun. She was up playing piano during it. So sorry, I never hung up. I guess that's funny. Am I still on the air?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, you're on the air right now.
Oh, that's hilarious. Okay. Sorry, guys. Well, hey, thanks for having me. I thought you guys would have hung up on me, I guess.
We thought we did. I guess we didn't.
That's funny. All right, guys. We'll do it again sometime.
That's right. And he's back. Jason Lawhead, ladies and gentlemen. Oh, that was hilarious. I heard some background noise, and I was like, what is going on
That's
here?
hilarious. See you guys.
See you guys. Jason,
All right, do we think
are
we
you
can hung
there?
up this
Are
time or no? We'll see.
That's funny. Like, I closed our call-in line screen thing here, and then I just kept hearing this background noise. It was like, oh, maybe like Chris or Bree has like their phone on or something. And then he's like, yeah, that was fun. People said it was funny. Fantastic.
Aw, that's really cute.
He already went for the longest interview that we've done so far.
Oh,
I think.
yeah.
It was awesome. And I
Yes,
think he
it
was trying to
was.
put that stat way away and out of touch for any other guest. That's what he was doing. He's coming back for a second round.
That's right. Bree, is Rashard Higgins now your favorite player?
Okay, guys. You guys are so funny.
Another thing to retire.
Positivity.
Yeah, listen, good thing I didn't order his jersey because he changed numbers on everyone.
Yeah, that was crazy.
Yeah.
I missed that. Huh.
Yeah, he
Yeah,
changed
for
his number.
Hooper. He had to give his number to Hooper.
Oh, okay. Well, rightfully so.
That's right. All right, let's keep it going. NFL announced, as we said earlier, they are releasing the schedule Thursday, 8 p.m. Chris, has anyone sent you the legitimate schedule yet?
Not legitimate, but I immediately got a schedule that looked like it was legitimate, and or at least it was the right opponents home and away. So first glance, he said, "Wow, you may have something here." I said, "Where'd you get that from?" And the guy said, "I just made it up." I said, "Oh, there you go.
All
At
right,
least you're
then.
honest."
Well, there we go. That's probably it. Sounds very legit. If you're Browns fans, if I know a lot of you booked hotels in Miami last year, so February 7th is still the date for the Super Bowl as of now in Tampa. So if you want to go book those flights and hotels, have at it. Just don't really recommend it. NFL also canceled all international games for the season. Originally, there was a slight chance we were going to go to London for a Browns game. The Browns have an away game against Jacksonville, who's obviously they're always scheduled over there. They're the UK's home team. Would you guys ever go to a Browns game internationally? Do you like this, or do you like it here just sticking in the States?
I don't know if I'd go if I already had something significant to go over there for. If I had really planned it and then it just happened that we could move it around because the Browns were playing over, I would make that happen. But I'm not going to plan a trip all the way over there to see the Browns right now. There's no way. I walk away from that stadium enough times kind of feeling sick for a 2-hour drive. Forget about going across the pond for the team right now. Until they show me they can consistently win, I'm not traveling that far for them.
Bree, how about you?
Yeah, I don't want to do that either. I'm with you, Chris. Plus, I like the ambiance of having all of your fans surrounding you. I just feel like in London, you're not going to get that same atmosphere type of experience there.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. It's kind of like going to the Super Bowl away. I think
Yeah.
I'd rather be downtown Cleveland than actually go into a different city. Let's talk some Tribe. I don't really want to. Because the prize possession from the trade for Kluber, Emmanuel Clase, suspended 80 games by the MLB for testing positive for some PED never heard of. He obviously was the centerpiece around that Kluber trade. Is this one of the worst trades now by this front office, who I feel like they've had historically a decent track record overall?
But this is another case. The Browns win every offseason, it seems, and then disappoint after that. The Indians lose every offseason. And this is just another loss, I think. I mean, I agree that Kluber probably needed to be traded. You need to get value. I was excited about this guy, and then he gets popped for PEDs. Like, we cannot get out of our own way with these guys. It's so frustrating. And I guess this was like the high test PED too. It was like anabolic steroids. So it's like horse stuff. I mean, he was really going
great.
Go higher, go home type of thing. So at least he's going to the high test stuff and he's not messing around with this over the counter.
80 games though. I mean, that's
games,
insane.
yeah.
That is insane. That's
so
just our luck.
We have
When it rains,
Delano
it pours.
DeShields for Corey Kluber, and then Paul Dolan got some cash.
Yes. You have to mention that. Like
Yeah.
I said, a moratorium on bad news for the Indians, please.
All right, fair enough. That's enough headlines. Let's move on to Would You Rather. All right, Chris, I'm starting with you because I know you do some family tailgating. Bree, I know you do as well. Assuming the NFL plays their games this fall, would you rather be able to attend a tailgate or attend a game?
Why not both?
Because you
What
can
is this?
only do one, Chris.
Well, I would gladly drive up, not tailgate, and go to see a game. I would like to see the Browns play in person. Yes, I could skip the tailgate. I do
Chris,
every once in a while.
There's a lot of people that go to a tailgate and never go to the game.
Well, especially here in Columbus, Ohio State. I mean, that's
Huge.
Oh yeah, you have 200,000 people outside the stadium, and of course the stadium holds 100,000. So you got 100,000 still out there tailgating.
Bree, are you with him?
I'm with him. I'd rather go to the game.
All right, so
We're old.
I
We're
feel like
getting old.
I would rather tailgate and then go watch the game in HD on like a 60-inch TV.
But then why would you bother driving all the way down there?
To hang out with people, Chris. I haven't seen anyone in forever.
You really are hard up. You need people around you. I feel bad for you.
I do. All right, Bree. Would you rather attend an away Browns game in Jacksonville, London, or Mexico?
Well, I just said I wouldn't go to London. I think I'll
Jacksonville or
bypass
Mexico?
Those options are all really bad.
Ouch.
If I go to Mexico, I want to go to like lay by the pool, like kind of the same thing as London. I don't know if I'd want to go there solely for a Browns game. I'd go there for a vacation. And I don't want the Browns to ruin my vacation. So I guess I'd just go to Jacksonville and they can ruin Jacksonville because it's probably already ruined going there.
Right.
Would you rather stay at home with a team you know and believe in like Rashard Higgins or take $10 million to go elsewhere?
If I was younger, in my younger years, I would say you always stay with the team. You have to show loyalty. But, especially in the NFL, I think you got to take care of yourself. You really do, because the NFL doesn't care about the players. They really don't. And the shelf life of these players is about 3 years. So you got to take care of yourself. So I respect the players that do, like Joe Thomas, like Higgins, who do stick with the team, even if there's some other options out there. But I don't know that I could make the same decision.
I like it. All right, bold prediction time.
Bold prediction.
All right, my bold prediction this week is next Monday's show, I will remember to take the guest off of the guest line.
That's bold.
Bold prediction.
That's bold.
I still can't believe that. Chris, you have a bold prediction for us?
Next week on The Last Dance, I think Michael Jordan's going to lose another bet to some sort of a clubhouse attendant or somebody else working in the stadium, because that was just magical when it happened during the episode, and I want to see that happen again.
I like it.
Did you guys catch that?
I'm behind, so I didn't watch. I didn't watch the last couple of days. So.
Oh, and the guy, he's like works security, and he did the whole Michael Jordan shrug back to him. I mean, he shows up Michael Jordan.
Was this the guy with the mullet?
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. He made a bet with Michael Jordan on a coin throw, and he ended up losing. So pretty sweet stuff. It's just kind of fun to see, a guy like Jordan kind of get shown up a little bit by this poor guy who's probably making, just over minimum wage or whatever. And the guy had his moment. He got to do the shrug to Michael Jordan. How many people can say that? That's awesome.
That's fantastic. Bree, bold prediction.
My bold prediction is the Browns will have a Thanksgiving Day game, and we'll probably all be by ourselves, not
Dallas.
celebrating with families because we won't I'll be allowed to have groups of 10 or more. There will be no fans in the stadium, but the Browns will still be playing on Thanksgiving, and I'll take that.
All right. I like that. That is a bold prediction.
Also, I am looking at ourselves on video. It looks like I'm about to eat you guys. I'm so big.
So every scene is different where I try to, like, when I'm not talking, I'm like behind the scene trying to make you smaller. I feel like I got it like 60% of the show. I succeeded.
Bree
so.
has gotten huge over quarantine. I didn't want to say anything because I didn't want, that shouldn't go there. But Bree, really, it's time for an intervention.
Noted.
All right. On that note, we will get on out of here. We'll see you next Monday at 9 p.m. Everyone stay safe and healthy, and we will see you next week. Big thanks to Shaq News, Cleveland Clothing Company, and Jason Lawhead for joining the show. We'll see you next week.
Hi, everyone. Tim Kitzrow from NBA Jam and NFL Blitz. You're listening to the best podcast on the air, Boom Shakalaka.
Okay, do you need medical attention?
Yes.
What is wrong?
I don't know. I ain't no goddamn doctor.
Free Shakalaka.